With just 90 days to go before the Women's World Cup in Canada, participants warmed up at the Algarve Cup on the southern coast of Portugal. And we got to see the sport's elite here for the 5-day tournament. And that includes the world's top 5 squads. Entrance was free, but only die-hard fans from the participating countries seemed to be showing up. And there were hardly any locals around. But at least the teams were there, such as current world champs Japan and the mighty Americans. European teams like the impressive Swedes and the upstart French, always good for an upset. And of course, Brazil.
The best teams in the world really do meet here. You really have a great opportunity here to try out new players and even other tactics, especially this year, so that the players can build up a rhythm. On the sporting level, it's a very useful tournament, which is why these teams are here.
It seems to be a tournament for the players, for the teams, to go kind of in the middle of nowhere where nobody's watching, even though now the games are televised. But it's more about each team has an opportunity to see how far they've come in the last couple of months and this close to the World Cup.
First stop, Team Germany. They're the current European champions and rated first in the world. Some consider them favorites for the world title. But it certainly won't be easy, considering all the matches will be tough.
The game has become faster. You need even more individualists if you're going to win against an equally matched squad. Tactics play a bigger role now.
We asked Germany keeper and former Women's World Player of the Year, Nadine Angerer, who the other favorites are.
I think the top candidates are France, who are right up there. And then there are a handful of other aspirants, such as the US, Norway, Sweden, Japan, and Brazil. So we've got a whole bunch.
You might think that the Japanese, as title holders, would be the favorites. The problem is the team is rebuilding, with many of their former stars no longer on the squad. For example, Homare isn't there. The result, at the Algarve Cup, Japan finished 9th.
Of course, our goal is to win the World Championships again. But it'll be more difficult this time around.
Next stop, the French squad, now considered among the world elite. They're supposedly already better than the Japanese, and have been continuously improving since the last World Cup. So what's the secret to their success?
I think it goes back to the Federation's support of youth development programs, and that we in the meantime have had women's club teams like Paris Saint-Germain, Lyon and Montpellier playing at the highest international level.
Another favorite are the Swedes. For the second time in 6 years, they beat Germany here at the Algarve Cup. Former U.S. team coach Pia Sundhage is now back in charge of Sweden again. It was back in 1984 when she was a player that Sweden won its only World Cup title ever.
I do believe it's important with a lot of experience going into a big tournament, and we do have a nice mix. Some of them have been around forever and been fairly successful as well. And I think that is contagious when you have that some of the players are older and they been playing some great games, and then you have some younger players as well. So hopefully we can put together that mix to be a successful mix as well.
The Brazilian team is centered around superstar Marta, but she needs the right teammates, and that's still a work in progress. Coach Vadao certainly wouldn't mind winning the Cup, but his big aim is winning the Olympics in 2016 in Brazil. For that to happen, the National League back home will have to improve.
We have a strong team with great players. But if you compare our league to the German and French national leagues, well, then we're no match.
The Americans certainly don't have that problem. Their league stresses a more physical aspect, and there are lots of experienced players. The new coach, Jill Ellis, and her training staff concentrate on that. You can see it with soccer legend Christy Rampone, who's pushing 40, though you'd never know it.
It's going to be the most difficult World Cup to win, but I think that's the evolution of the game. There's some great teams who have grown, who have put money into women's soccer.
We're motivated, we're focused, and we're determined, and we all have one goal, and that's to win the World Cup, and that's to win every single game leading up to the World Cup and continue to get better. And I think that's like our mentality, and that's what we've talked about since day one.
Women's football continues to develop. And it also continues to garner ever more attention from the international press.
Of course, the World Cup in Germany gave it a big push forward. Now will be taken more seriously by the media. Before, you'd hear more about the peripherals of women's football. Now there'll be a lot more talk about the sport itself. There will be questions about tactics, about the players, about the strengths and weaknesses. This wasn't the case before.
You see companies getting involved, wanting to put money into women's football. You see investors wanting to buy professional teams. You see federations putting more money into their women's programs because they can see what it can do for not only their specific teams but for an entire country. And my excitement about this game is where it's going to be in 20 years.
Where is it going to be in 20 years?
That's a great question, but I hope it's going to be in a lot better place, that's for sure.
The U.S. ended up winning the Algarve Cup, and everyone's already looking forward to the World Cup, which will start on June 6th in Canada.